Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's about time we had a chat. I think we need to talk. You see, I didn't realize it until now, but I've got a bit of a problem. And some of you may also have the same symptoms as me. And that is that you'll be playing this game completely unaware of how much pain and suffering you're actually putting yourself through for no reason at all. What we've done so far in this game has very much been what most people do when they start out. They just start to build, they start to explore, they start to figure things out. And it gets to a point where you'll start to watch some YouTube videos, where you'll start to maybe look at some guides, get some help, be inspired, or just frustrated. I mean, the only reason we do anything anyway is out of inspiration or desperation. And sometimes we get inspired to do something amazing, and sometimes we get desperate. And that last space elevator was kind of desperate. Let's just be honest. It wasn't the best experience when it comes to having everything set up and functioning as it should be. There was a lot of complexity in the build, and we didn't optimize. We wasn't efficient. Now, whilst there isn't an actual purpose or an outcome to this game, you kind of just do what you want. There's some progression to follow. There's a few things to explore. There's a way that is preferred by the community to build things. But it doesn't matter. If you want to build spaghetti, you build spaghetti. If you want to clip, you clip. If you want to add mods to the game to change the way the game plays, you add mods to the game. You do what you want. That's the beauty of a game like this, is there's no right or wrong. But there are ways to do things that make it slightly less painful. And up until this point, a lot of this exploration has kind of just been what I feel like a lot of people will do as they play this game, is figuring stuff out. But what I actually want to do now is tear this down. And the reason for that is because I think sometimes we get very attached to our surroundings. And I think sometimes we just continue to build and continue to build. And there's a saying about polishing a turd. There's only so far we can go. And actually sometimes just rebuilding and restarting isn't a bad thing. That's what we love about games, right? Is the fact that we can just start over. And we can just change things if we want to. And we can learn from our experiences. And that's why people like playing games so much, especially games like this. Now, when I think back to when we started, that little bit of spaghetti that we had out on the grass, some of it which is still there, the inefficiencies that we had at the beginning, followed by the beauty of everything harmonizing and working together, running over and pulling in the coal and then bringing it back, building out the train line and suffering with the challenges that come with trying to figure out a system and get it all together. At this point, you'll start to learn some things, and you've got two options really. One, you start again and you start a new playthrough and you just adopt everything that you've learned and you see if you can improve. Or two, you just decide, well, okay, well, it is what it is. You know, this was our start. There's some good memories here. You know, we've expanded and built into this base, and you know, whilst it might not have been cosmetically upgraded to make it aesthetically pleasing, it serves a purpose. And so what we're going to do now, getting to this point today, is we're going to look at building a base, a factory, something that we can be proud of, that we can call home. And we're going to be able to tear this down and rebuild it into something that we will call our castle, our palace, our home, if you like. Now, in doing this, we're going to keep it in keeping of everything that we have here. We're going to keep it in keeping of the starter system that we have built. But what we actually want to do now is we want to look at how can we expand? Because what we should have done in hindsight, and this is always very easy looking back to say, I wish I'd known this at the time. And it's part of the discovery, and it's part of the beauty of the game. You know, you don't want to just follow somebody else per se. You want to do your own thing. That's part of the fun of this. But what we should have done is every time we were building for a new system, we should have optimized that system before we moved ahead and before we continued. That would have made our progress a lot more, I would say, enjoyable. And not that it's been unenjoyable, but there's been moments where it's been quite painful. And so if we go back to the milestones and just look at tier 0, we had to go through all of these upgrades. We couldn't go any further until we'd done that. Then the focus was very much on starting to upgrade our base. And then our focus after building our base would have been on efficiency, although we actually went for efficiency first. Then it's exploration. And the game's very clever. It does take you through a process. You know, if you look at the start, you start with the basics. Then you learn about, well, you start with the basics and learn iron. Then you learn copper. And then you learn limestone. And then you learn efficiency. And then you learn the start and end of the loop. And then you learn about fuel and the pains of fuel. Then you learn about base building. Then you learn about efficiency. Then you learn about exploration. And you come in here and you learn about assembling, and you learn about better parts. And so this tiered system of progression, it's clever. It's very well built by the developers to take you on a journey. Then you learn about optimization again. This is obviously just in there as a distraction. Then you learn about customization and quality of life. Then you learn about upgrades. And then coming into tier 3, we learn about coal power, which is a game changer for the power. And in fact, I would argue that if you were playing this game and you were starting again from scratch, you would start with logistics. Logistics and the splitter and merger is an absolute must-have. This is a must-have. From here, after I had logistics set up, you would have to do part assembly because you need smart plating. And you can go for the sync bonus if you want, but I would be going after this. I would be going for solid biofuel because that's going to make your fuel consumption much better. I would be going for logistics part 2 so that you can scale, but you don't even need this, to be fair. If you had it, it's great, but you don't need this. I would be going straight from tier 3 and coal power because this coal generator is really going to change your game once you have this. And so I would be rushing tier 3 in every playthrough to get to coal power to be able to go and build myself a power plant. And I kind of feel with like how we're playing today, that's kind of what we should do. I feel like we should start again, and I feel like we should actually build out a system, a better system, a system that can now expand, because as we get into the late game, which is where we are now in the late game, we're going to start with aluminium. We're going to start with a whole new process that we have to learn. And we're doing all of this, level 5 logistics, you know, we're talking about drones and other things that we've looked at. But we're talking about all of this building nuclear power. And we haven't yet mastered the basics because we haven't yet got the efficiency of being able to scale. And as you can see, when we start needing these like larger items, it's going to be really painful to get them. So what we're going to do now instead, especially when we're starting to like 140 computers, 176 motors, we can do this. You know, this isn't a problem. We can do it. But it's going to be painful. And so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go back and we're going to optimize through the start all the way up to late game. So that when we get to tier 7, this time, we're going to be in a much better place. All right, with that being said, let's jump into this. So we really want to get a hover pack. That's going to be a nice addition for us. And we also want to focus on blueprints, building out blueprints and looking at the blueprint designer because we haven't done that yet. And since we've unlocked it, it's going to make a lot of sense to use that to build our base. So we want to be able to upgrade and we want to be able to build something that's going to be meaningful to us, and we want to take all of the lessons that we've learned so far as we do so. We also, looking on the map, want to be able to figure out just where it is that we're actually going to go and what it is we're going to do. Now, there's some really, really good websites that you can use to be able to learn about the game. What I mean by that is that there's interactive maps for Satisfactory. And if you went to Satisfactory-calculator, that's one example of a map that you can use. Satisfactory tools. there's lots of websites that you can use, and these websites are really good and they're going to help you. And I kind of want to bring one up just to show you quickly, because I think it's going to be beneficial for you to kind of see how this works. Now, in terms of having this this playthrough and doing what we're doing here, I'm not going to change the screen at the moment, but I do want you to know that. In fact, let me do it now. We'll just do it now. I'm going to show you the display. Here we go. Hold on. I just need to edit the display, so give me a second. The reason I didn't want to do this is because I have a ultra wide monitor that is not set up, as you can see here. It's not really set up very well for you to be able to see what's going on here. So I do apologize for that, but you can get the idea here. So this is Satisfactory -calculator.com, and this is a map of the world. And what we're going to do is just put this into kind of full screen here. Hopefully you can see it a bit better. Now, if I put it in full screen mode, or if I take it out of full screen mode, on the right hand side you'll see here there's map layers. And so one of the things you can do here is you can drop your save game here, which I think is so clever, and it will show you kind of what you've got and what you can see. So you can see like the realistic map here, and you can see kind of like the game map here. I quite like having a realistic map on because it kind of gives you a really good breakdown of the areas. So you can see where we kind of started in the bottom left hand corner here. This is like the grassy knoll, or the grassy area that we was in. And you can kind of see everything that we've got going on here. So for example, this is the coal node that we used here. This is the arch just here. And you can kind of see where stuff is. Now I can actually unselect all of the layers and just choose the things I want. So for example, here are the spawn locations. So you can see the first, second, third and fourth spawn location. Now the other thing that I can do here if I wanted to is look at the world border, and it shows you the world. It's a huge, huge world. Bear in mind, we only got to here. We didn't explore any of this, and we didn't explore any of this up here. So there's a whole world to explore. It is a huge map. Huge map. But one of the things that we can look at, if we wanted to, is we can have a look at looking at layers. So if I look at pure, this is going to show me all of the pure nodes. Okay, so I can toggle on pure and impure, and normal. If I look at impure, most of the stuff in this starting area is impure. If I just wanted to look at pure, then I can start to see where all of these pure nodes are. Now, this was the pure coal that we used, but there's only one of them. If we want to have a look around here, there's actually lots of iron and copper around here, with a couple of limestone nodes that are pure. We've got the Caterium ore that's over here as well. But in this starting area, it's really not a lot here at all. So we had to pull stuff in. And it was quite a challenge. And everything we're using is normal right now. If we start to move up, this was, if you look, this is the crude oil that we got. This is the pure crude oil. Over here is going to be the coal that we got from here. We brought the coal over to here. But this is a bit of a challenge to be able to do this, to be able to move stuff all around. And now we've unlocked so much of the game, we can really start to think a bit more and plan a bit more. And plan is something we haven't done up until this stage. So as we start to move further into the north, you start to see there's a lot more resources, especially in this area. This is a really good area. There's 3 coal nodes on top of each other here, surrounded by this water. You know, this could be a really, really good start location to have these 3 coal nodes by this water, and that can create a factory where we can just make life a lot easier for us by having a lot more coal. There's not really a lot of coal around this side, around the bottom, coming up the side here. So if we're looking, and coal was kind of what we were looking for, and we can look, by the way, if we want to toggle everything off at the moment, so let's just toggle off the pure. If we go to resource nodes at the top here, we can have a look for coal. We can have a look for just pure coal. So we're going to get rid of all of the noise. And we can kind of see that there are, I would say, 2 locations where you're going to find 3. So there's this location up here, and this one here. Now, I don't think there's a bad location. There's not a good or a bad location to choose from. But you have to think about, if we're going to build something like this, where is the best place to be in terms of where are the other nodes? So if we turned on iron, we can see here that there are kind of two coal locations. There's one here and one here. This one has an absolute crazy abundance of iron to the north and a little bit to the south. This one has a bit to the left. If we're looking at the map and if we're looking at the area, you can kind of get a bit of a feeling here for what these areas are going to be like in terms of the altitude, the rockiness of this can be a bit of a challenge. This is a lot flatter over here, up top here. So we've got this iron here, we've got this coal here. But here we've got an absolute crazy abundance of iron, as well as right here. These are almost on top of each other. So again, this could be a really nice lake to start on. These ones are bigger lakes, so you can obviously build out bigger factories on them. But we're starting to get this idea of an area that we can build in. Also, there is iron up here, so we could also funnel the coal up here, have this iron up here. You've got this kind of estuary here, if you like. So let's now turn on the copper. And in fact, if we turn off the others to just look at the copper, again, if we look at where the coal is, we can see. So we want to turn off iron now, and we want to turn off on copper. So copper's not as popular, but we don't need as much of it. But there is some down here in this area, and there's a lot of it. So at the moment, this area here is looking like one of the strongest starts compared to how many resources there are. Let's look at limestone. Limestone, not as much. If we look at Caterium, well, in this area here. So we're looking at one of these two sites to start from. And I don't think it really matters. What you could do, and is always a possibility, if we were to toggle on all of the, go to the map layers and turn show pure, now we can kind of see where everything is. Now we can also see here we've got crude oil. So there's crude oil right here. We've got coal power here, crude oil right here. We've got more coal power here. We've got a lot of stuff in the middle. We've got a lot of stuff at the top here. We've got iron ore here, iron ore here. We've actually right here, we've got some bauxite that we might need. We've got water, pure water here. We've got some raw quartz here. So, I mean, you could argue when you're thinking about the location of your map that somewhere around this lake here is actually a really good place. And if we look at spawn locations, you'll notice this is actually one of the spawn locations on the map, just to the south of it. So this gives us an opportunity now, as we're looking, to kind of think, well, are we actually in the right location? Is this a good place for us, or should we go somewhere else? And so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to pack up and we're going to move. We're going to go somewhere else so that we can understand and we can learn and we can look at the rest of the map. Now we've kind of done that to a degree where we started down here and we moved up to this crude oil here. And we pushed across to here, up here, sorry, to this coal. But this is it. This is as far as we have been on the map. And this took a lot to get to here. We're talking about going a lot further now. A lot further. So I feel like this is a really good location to explore. And I think that when we're looking at starting out, and we're looking at building kind of a mega factory or a centralized factory, we do kind of want to be in the center of the map, as close as we can, because this is going to give us the access to all of the areas of the map, and we're always going to have that central point to come back to, rather than being on the outskirts where we have such a long distance to go to the other side. So when we look at the two sides here, we need to go and recce these to see which one we prefer. Do we kind of like this area on the left or this area on the right? And then I think by just looking, we can see right now. So if you want a point of reference or you want to get an idea of how big something is, think about where we started here and think about this pool of water. Now we fit on here 2 water extractors on this. You could fit maybe a third, maybe a fourth, but that's pretty much all you're going to get on there. So if we compare that to the size of maybe something over here, you'll notice that it's not too dissimilar in size. And this is a very built up rocky area around here, by the way. You can see this is quite undulating. It's not very flat. There's a lot to play with. And if you wanted to go into this view, you can kind of see here with the map and the contour lines, you can kind of get an idea of how this is a dropped area, how this is a bit more raised around here. There's a lot of stuff to fight with. Whereas if we look over here, this is kind of pretty flat. We can also look here, you can kind of get an idea. And so this is an area that I think is going to be better for us to build in. There's a huge amount of water here. Huge amount of water. And so this is where we're going to pick our starting location. We've got access to crude oil, we've got access to coal, we've got access to everything else we need. If we want to bring in copper, we can do that. In fact, let me just turn off some of the things that we don't want to see at the moment. So we'll unselect all as, we're just going to show the pure. Alright, so we've got iron here, we've got copper here, so we can pull these in. We've also got a geyser here if we need that. We've got Caterium here, got another Caterium here, got Bauxite here. So I would say that although we don't really have any, the only challenge we're going to have in this area is limestone. There is one up here, but yeah, limestone is a bit of a challenge. So that is one of the downsides to this area. But we've also got all of this here. Look, iron here, copper here, we've got limestone here, coals here, we've got a geyser here, pure as well. So you could look down here at the coal and build around here, or if you go just a little bit north, you've really got everything you need. You've got 2 copper pure, you've got 2 limestone pure, you've got 4 iron pure, you've got 2 quartz, you've got a geyser, you've got your coal, all in this area here, which you can build across this flat land here as well. You've got all of this desert area here. So you've got this beautiful starting area here, I think, with a really good opportunity. And then if you really wanted to, you could just go down here and set up a power factory here. So you could set your power up to here, and then you could use pylons to bring it up to here. And this could be your base. And you're not in the middle of the map, but you are surrounded by a lot of these resources. So going through this map and understanding it and seeing where everything is, and this just comes with experience when you play the game, I would argue, or I would say, that this is one of the best starting locations for building out a decent sized, and I'm going to say a mega factory because it's not technically, I guess, a mega factory, but it's on the verge of, it's definitely not a beginner factory. If you're gonna scale this, this is going to be a good opportunity. So that's what we're going to do right now. We are going to pack up our shit, and we are going to start moving north. We're going to head over to this area here, and we're going to see if we can locate on the map, and we're going to get to kind of like this beach area here, because this is where we want to set up, right here. And we're going to build in this area, this vicinity, and we're going to build out our future and what that looks like. And then what we're going to do is we're going to build out a dedicated coal factory that is going to be, this coal is going to be used here just for power. So this coal and this is just for power, and we're going to perfect power here. Then what we're going to do is use this coal. This coal is going to be used with some of this iron here, and we're going to build just around here. We'll bring one in and bring one in, and then this will be our steel plant. We'll have a quartz, we'll have a limestone, we'll have quartz, we'll have steel, we'll have iron, and we'll have copper. And what we're going to do is we're going to feed all of these in, and they'll all be inputs. And then what we'll do is we'll just build out our base, and we'll section it. So we have all these different sections in our base, but then we'll be able to have these independent factories that combine together. And that will focus on each game loop. So rather than building everything in one place like we've kind of done now, because everything's in one building, we'll have separate buildings, but those buildings will be next to each other. And it would take over here and build out our kind of, our big factory. So this has been a great starting location for us. It really has. And the reason I've taken so long on this, I know I've been talking now for like half an hour not playing. You're probably like, Steve, shut up. I want you to understand that if you get to this stage in the game, why didn't I start with this at the beginning? Why didn't I tell you about this at the beginning? Because I think it's important for you to discover the game and understand the game and find some of the challenges of the game. It's not really about just finding a location and building. It's about the journey. And the journey can be fun. And that's why I think that it's important for us to not get carried away with just looking at the biggest and best thing that you can build. Because if you look at this map, you can see now when when we kind of zoom out of this map, we haven't really explored. We haven't really explored anything. Not really. We haven't been anywhere. We've discovered a very small part of this map. So, how do we do this? How do we now get to the stage where we're going to move around and leave this area? This I would argue mildly inefficient, but it is working. It's done us very, very well up to this point, but it doesn't really serve us now for where we want to go and what we want to do. So let's head out our garage. And the very first thing we need to do is consider building some transportation. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a truck. So let's get this truck ready. We're going to need some motors, some circuit boards, and some rubber. All of which we have, by the way. So we'll just grab the circuit boards out of there. So we've got those. The rubber we can get when we go outside. Motors are going to be in here. So let's just go and grab those. And let's head over. Right. There we go. So see, we're already making loads of stuff now. In fact, I would say that just by this point in here, we are all ready to start unlocking. Maybe backside. We can do backside. I do want to have a look at the hover pack. But I don't, unfortunately, have the aluminium to do that. So we can unlock this now. I'm pretty sure we've got, if not enough, then we're close to enough. Let's have a look. Okay, so we need to keep 15 motors on us. I think we might have enough, you know. Let's chuck these in here. That's enough. We need a tiny bit of rubber. We are going to need some more motors. Let's just go and grab the rubber from outside quickly. We'll come back in. Those motors will be ready. And then we can get that backside and just complete it so it's done. And we can say that we've done something at this point. So we could just continue now. We could optimize this, make this better. You know, everything's here as you can see, as we've needed it. But what I want to do is I want to start now, because when you get to the stage of the game when you're here, the whole purpose of me waffling and talking for the last 20 minutes is to get you to consider that if you're going to build something out properly, you need to plan it. You need to plan. There's only so much you can get away with without planning. And you could wing it, and you could create some carnage and have some fun here. But ultimately, if you want a fully optimized, efficient factory that works really well,
Milestone
you're going to want to plan it.
Quartz and bauxite scanning unlocked. A new generation of basic aluminum parts is now available, which can be constructed from bauxite after a complex process of refinement. The blender will be used in future processes.
Alright, so now you can see it's 10 minutes to the pod returns. We can't really do much else at the moment. We're just waiting for these motors. Alright, so whilst we're waiting for these motors, let's go and get rid of everything that we don't need. Okay, let's go and get rid of everything we don't need. Because we're going to have a long journey ahead of us. So we're going to store everything there. We're going to store everything there. Let's take some fuel, because fuel's always going to be good. We're going to need that. And let's go and consider all of the things that we need to take with us now to be able to build. Oh, actually, let's build the truck, because we do need that. So, okay, circuit boards, we can take some of those. Heavy modular frames, we can take some of those. We need some rubber, which I think I put into the other one here. Okay, we need some motors, so we've got that. Rebar. I keep calling it rebar, but you know what I mean. Here we go. Okay. Alright, so we just need 4 more motors, and then we've got everything we need to build the starter truck, so we're going to go and do that. And then we're going to load it up with materials. Okay, so just need 2 more of those. Alright, so let's have a think about what we're going to build. Well, first of all, initially what we're going to build is going to be the base material. So in order to do that, and whilst we're here, by the way, this is the best place to do this, is we don't know really, because we want to plan. So what we know is we know that we're going to want some of this. So we'll take some iron plates, because we're going to need this for foundations. And we know that we're going to need some concrete, right, for our foundations. So let's go ahead and take some of this to start with. Let's think about also taking some bars, because we know we're going to need some of that. And we can take a couple of these, because look, we're building all... Now we're not doing that. Take some screws. We'll take some copper wire. We'll take just a tiny bit of this, a little bit of that. Perfect. All right, what else do we need here? So looking through this, we'll take a little bit of plastic. I don't think we need any modular frames, but we're going to take some anyway. There's nothing else we need here, I don't believe. Oh, we'll take some of that. We're going to need that for power. Okay, I think we're good at the moment. I think we've got everything that we need. We've got some plastic. We'll take some of this, but I think we can probably take a bit more of this. So there we go. We'll just top up there. And then we're going to need some copper as well, so we'll take some of that as well. All right, that's good. I think we'll just get rid of one of those and take a bit more of that. So this is a pretty good startup now that we've got. We just need those motors. But we've got enough resources now here, base resources. There we go, and there's the motor to be able to get started. So what we're going to do is head outside, and we're going to put down the truck, should we say. And we're going to go in the rough direction we want to go into, so to get away from... So we don't have to jump over all of this. We're going to put this down just here. So there's our truck. And it's quite a big truck. We should have actually put it around out of the way, so let's just pick that up. Grab the truck. Spin it around so it's facing the right direction. And then we can open up the back of the truck, and now we can chuck everything in here. So we can put the fuel in here, and then we can put all the resources in here. But before we load this up with resources, we need to know what resources we're putting in. Okay, and so the way that we're going to do this is actually we're going to build out, and if we just type this in, we're going to start building out these blueprints. So we can start to build out blueprints now. So we can do a blueprint designer. And if we do a blueprint designer, and we can place this kind of... There's no right or wrong way to do this, but if we place this kind of just down here for now, like so. Just move some of this stuff out of the way. The tree actually doesn't matter. It's not. The tree's not in our way. I would argue that one probably is, but no, we can work with that. So now we've got this blueprint designer where we can start to build out some blueprints. And I want to talk through this. So I started playing about with this just before the video because I wanted to really make sure I understood it before I explained it to you, because it can kind of get a little bit overwhelming. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove these blueprints. This system can be challenging. And I wanted to make sure, because this is a new system that was introduced in a recent update not too long ago. And it's good, it's really good, but it's also got limitations. Now, there are a lot of mods that you can use to make this better. But at the end of the day, if you're starting out and you've applied changes, you've used this for the first time, you have to understand it is a 32 by 32 grid or a 4 by 4 foundation. That is it. So if you want to build like a middle with 2 either sides, you can't. And it kind of would make sense if it was 5 across, because it would allow you to build some odd numbers as well as even. But you're really limited at the moment in the space. So I think this should be a 5 by 5 grid personally, not a 4 by 4, but it is what it is. Or even a 5 by 4 would be better, but it is what it is. So you need to have the resources on you for what you want to build, and we need to get started. So let's get started with something really, really basic. Let's get started with some foundations. And for foundations, we're going to get started with just building out a 2-meter foundation. So we can build this as we normally would. Okay, it doesn't need to be anything crazy. And we can go ahead and we can build here just a 4 by 4 grid. Now, I'm not going to do a 4 by 4 grid because I don't want one, but you can do that just by putting foundations down within this area. And then you've got your area to work with. What I'm going to do for the purpose of this is I'm actually going to make, if we look at the lines here, so you've got these lines, and there's some bigger lines here. So here, and this is the middle. So we know this is the middle line. We know right here that's the middle line. I actually kind of feel like I should get rid of that tree. It's a little bit annoying. Let me just move this over. Just because I can imagine it's going to get quite annoying if we don't. There we go. Okay, so from here, we can see this is the middle line. We're just going to, we can jump on top here. There we go, so we can see a bit better. And we're going to build out this foundation, and we're going to build it so that the middle is here. You can see that it's got 2 squares either side. So we're going to build that just there. And that's going to be our first. We're then going to go out to the left. We're going to go back 3, to the right, and 3. And you need to be careful because you can snap to the grid. And if I snap there, I'm still going to snap to the grid underneath, but I'm not snapped to this foundation. So you need to make sure you are snapping to the right foundation when you do this. But there we go. We're going to build this little grid. And all this is a very simple 3x3 grid. We're now going to come back to the blueprint design and we're going to learn how this works. So it tells you what your cost is. We're going to call this foundation 3x3. Simple. We're going to select an icon. So here we can use a foundation. So 2 meter foundation. We can select the image. So we can call this foundation 3x3 by 2 meter. Or 2 meter, yeah? Select icon, select color. Then we need to, this is the important part, we need to select a directory. So here is where we can edit. And we can create categories. At the moment we've got this undefined category. What we can actually create now, if we wanted to, is we can define this or add a new category. So now this new category, we can edit. We can give it a new name. So we're going to call this foundations. Select an icon. We'll do the same thing. So this is going to be, we'll just give it a hard hat for now. There we go. So this is just going to be our foundations, okay? We're going to go ahead and apply this. And we have our foundations. And we're going to add a subcategory. So click on foundations, add subcategory. And then here we can rename this one. We're going to call this base foundations. Okay? And that's what we're doing. And now we're going to add a blueprint. So what this will do when we click add blueprint is everything we've built so far is going to add here. This is it. So if we go and apply changes now, we've got this. This is now done. If we come out, what we haven't done is we haven't saved this blueprint. What we've done is some people think, this is saved. I've done this, it's saved. But what I'm going to show you now is it's not. If I clear this designer, I will lose this blueprint. This blueprint has not been saved. And it actually, there we go. I've cleared it. It's gone. If I go in here now and I'm like, let me go to my directory, foundations, there's nothing here. So you have to remember to save the foundation. Like this is the biggest, I can't stress this enough as you're learning and figuring this out. You need to understand this system. Otherwise you're gonna end up losing stuff. And I just don't want that for you. So, all right, now we know what we're doing. Allegedly. We're going to put this back as we just did. Okay, so we've got that foundation, it's 3x3 foundation. We need to come back in and now we need to do everything again, right? So foundation, 3x3, 2 meter. We need to set that directory again of where we want it to be. Remember, we've only just set the directory. Select that icon. We'll use that foundation. And now we need to click Save Blueprint. Only when we save the blueprint has it been saved. Now I can clear. Now if I click Load Blueprint and go down, it's saved. That's it. So if I now load this by clicking on it, it will bring it back. What's really cool about this is if I go somewhere else now, go into my build menu by pressing Q. Wait, what? There. Okay, Q wasn't working for a second. That was strange. We've got the builder, we've got the customizer, but we've now got blueprints. And this is the blueprint. This is the editor that we were making. So we can edit the blueprint, the editor, go to foundations. I can grab this and I can put it down. And what this is going to do is it's going to lay down that foundation for me. And so now I can just start to snap these together. So if I wanted to, I can start to build out a much bigger base. And you kind of get the idea of what we're building here, right? Or what we're doing here. So if we wanted to, and again, you've got to make sure it's all lined up properly, but you kind of get the idea. Or at least I hope you do anyway. We can press H as we normally would. We can line things up. We can nudge them as we normally would to get this to a point where we build it. Oh, it says there's a creature in a way, which is why we can't build there. Oh, there we go. Got those two creatures there. But you kind of get the idea of how we can build this out, right? And then if we want to get rid of it, same way as it normally would, it's now treated as like a structure. So once the blueprint's down, all it is a good way for you to bulk build something. So why am I sharing this with you and why are we going through this now? Well, because we can actually use this now. If we're clever and if we're smart, we can do one or two things. We can either use people that have already built blueprints. We can clear the design, by the way, now. The blueprint is saved, so it's okay. So what we can do now is we can start to think, well, hold on a minute. What if I want to build something? Okay, well, what would that look like? Well, if you've got your foundation, and we put that foundation down, and again, we can build upon this foundation. So if we wanted to, rather than having, like, let's just load the foundation in. We're going to load a foundation. Right, so that's now built. Now we can build upon it. So what we can do, and I don't know why my build menu is not working. It's really strange. If I press Q, I'm not able to. I'd have to, yeah, I have to press F first. I mean, that's really strange. Okay, I can build a wall, right? So for example, now what I can say is, okay, this is going to be the door here at the start, okay, and then I'm going to come in here, and this is going to be my kind of main area. Okay, well then, what am I going to build from here? Well, maybe I want to build like a foundation, depending on what you've got unlocked. Maybe I want to build like a foundation like this. And then maybe in terms of doors. And you can start to get creative with this. You can build it out. You can really decide how you want it to look. And maybe I want to put a door on the side here, another one on the side here. And then maybe I want to build out some walls, right? So I can build this out like so. Want to have it maybe like 3 high in total. So I can start to build this out. Now, again, you don't need to do this. I'm just showing you what's possible. So all we're going to do right now is just build out this box. And then maybe you want to put some kind of windows in here. And if you don't have things unlocked, you can kind of just leave holes for now. We're going to put another door at the top there. Okay, so we'll do so and so like that. All right. And then maybe we want to put that there. Maybe we want to put that there. And that there. So we can at least let a little bit of light in and still see in here, and it's not too dark at the moment. So there's our little foundation, if you like, our start. Now we haven't put anything on top because the foundation's always on the bottom. So when we put a building block on top of this, that building block will be the floor. That's why we're not going to put a roof on this for what we're doing right now. So now we've got this, we can go along and we can call this entrance. We're going to put a new directory. This isn't going to be foundations. We're going to put a new subcategory. So we edit, create a subcategory. We can call this building blocks, if you like. All right, and we can add this one here, which is going to be entrance. Apply the changes. But if we come out of this, now we can choose what this is going to be. So maybe we've set the directory, that's done. So foundations, building blocks. Maybe we want a different icon on there. So maybe we'll choose a door instead, the entrance. Go ahead and do that. We've got the location, we've got this saved, and we're going to save the blueprint. Make sure you save the blueprint. Right, this is now saved. Great. All right, let's go ahead and now it's saved. We can clear this. Okay, and now we can do the next one. So for the next one, let's go ahead and we're going to load a blueprint, but we'll load the foundation again. And now we're back to the foundation. And if I was to come over here, now if I move somewhere else, I can go to the blueprints, grab my entrance, and I can just simply choose where I want it to go. Now, what I would always recommend if you're going to do this is grab one foundation, 2 meter foundation, snap it to the world grid. 1 2 meter foundation, snap it to the world grid. And then when you go to your blueprints and you put your entrance down, you kind of want to snap this onto this. So it does say that I'm in the way, so I can't do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to press H and we're going to move out of the way. Hold on, was that? That was a 2 meter foundation. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to put this 2 meter foundation down, we want to snap it. And you can almost do 3 if you want in a line, because you've got your 3x3. And then when you come along and you put down your base, which we're going to do now. So if we want to go to blueprint, go to our entrance area, and we want to put this down, there we go. What we can do now at this stage is line this up, press H, move out the way. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to line this up perfectly. You can see here it's not kind of lined up. It's not lined up to the world grid. Right, and so this is one of the things where you need to work on lining these up. Now, the reason this isn't going to line up is because where you built. You have to remember you're not actually on a foundation exactly. We built it in a different way. So when you're building this, just remember that when you're putting a blueprint down, that blueprint is always going to be, and this is important for you to know, that blueprint is always going to be slightly off. So what we want to do now is press H. We want to move this across. And we want to line this up so it's exact. And then we want to put this down. Then we can get rid of these foundations. Because we know now that we're actually on the world grid. If I was to put this down, if I was to put this on the world grid, so let's just say I was to put it on the world grid, so here, for example, this is the world grid, right? I put this one down. I can now see, look, I'm snapping exactly right into place. So you have to understand, but I'm actually a bit higher. So I've gone up an extra 2 meters, actually. But that's fine, because I can choose a base level of where I want it to be, and that's fine, depending on where you are. But now I've got this foundation. It's just built. And if I go inside, it's just easily built. So why am I sharing this with you? Why is this important? Well, if we come back over here now, we've got this foundation. We're going to build something a little bit different. So I want you to imagine you've gone through that door at the top, and we're going to go into a centralized... We talked about this before, having a centralized loot room. Okay, so what would a centralized loot room look like? How would this work? Well, it's really simple. First thing we're going to need is cargo. So we go to our organization. We're going to have storage container. We're going to use a large one. And we're going to build a bit more space this time. We're not going to stress about space. So in order for us to do this, we're going to have a box. And we're going to put it somewhere like this. Press H. We can see that this is in the middle of this square. We've got room to the front, room to the back. We can even come back a little bit if we wanted to, just so we can get this to where we want it to be. And the idea here is that if we were to put this down, this is the key, and we were to go to logistics, and we were to add to the front and to the back, we want to be able to have, and this is what is really important here, we want to be able to have everything we need to link this up and down. So let's just put in at the moment, this is a test. Okay, we're also going to want this one on here, but we want it to clear the other one. So this one is saying can't be nudged, which is a little bit annoying. Okay, so we want that to be clear, which actually that would be clear, like that. So you can see where we need to be here and how much space we need. So we need these 3, but we're going to actually start on this end for this. And this will make sense, because if you spend a little bit of time on this, and again, if you plan it out, what we'll be able to do is we know we want to build this kind of in the middle here. And we know that we want to build it so it's up against the edge of the wall, but it's inside, so that it's not going to be clipping. So we can have that. And we can build another one here. All right, so we can do that. That would work. That would be absolutely fine. Then we're going to put our box down. And again, this doesn't need to be perfect right now. What we're trying to do is just grab these placements. And we're only going to do this once. This is the key here, is that we're only going to do it once. So we want to have the box facing this way. Obviously making sure it's not clipping. So that's perfect there where it is. We'll put that down. And then we're going to want one at the front as well, but we'll put that, you know, just there for now. All right, that's good. So now that we've got this, we don't obviously need all of these bits on here. But if we were going to connect this, if this was going to be true, how would we want to do it? Well, we're going to use what's available. And you might have level 4s here, so you might want to go straight for level 4. It's up to you. Depends if you want to upgrade later or not. We're going to have this one like this, just in case we want to link up to the next box. Then what we need to do, we can't nudge that because it's locked in place. We can if we do it here. So, again, we're going to make sure that this is in the right place like it is here. We're going to put that down and we're going to go up. And that's going to go to about here. We also need to consider, in terms of a wall, how much do we need in terms of room? Well, if we're going to put a wall here, we're going to have to go up at least 3 high before the next foundation goes on, okay? So if we had the 2 meters here, we're not going to clear it on this wall. So we actually need to go up another wall. Now we can put this 2 meter on. And you can see we're still not going to clear it. And that's important to understand as well. But here's the other thing. If we look at the foundations, we have the foundations and then the wall on top. Yeah? So the foundations actually sit on top of the wall, not below it. So if we put another one down here, our foundations choosing where we're going to put them, sorry, would actually be like this. Because now everything's inside this loot room and it clears perfectly. Now, you might not want it to look like this. This might not be ideal for you. You might want it to look differently. But if we're going to look at clearance and issues in here and how this is going to work, this would be the ideal size for this room. Now, we could, if we wanted to, with the walls, and again, you've got options here. There's no right or wrong way to build this. We could actually build the walls. We can't nudge up and down. That's the only challenge at the moment. Okay, right. If that's a problem, then you could simply do this. Like, you can put 2 down. Okay, so you can put 2 walls down. So we can go 1, 2 up. Then we can put a 4 on top of these. It's a little bit awkward, but then we can take these out if we need to. And then we can clip a 4 to it like this. So now we're actually covering the foundations. Again, there's no right or wrong. You just need to decide what's best for you. Because now if we do this, we're still going to be covering this inside look. But see how we're 2 foundations down now instead of 1, so we're a little bit lower. So you've just got to decide, and when you're going to build, how you're going to do it. Do you want that foundation exposed or not? Do you want to cover it up completely like that? It changes everything inside. Also, the reason we do 2 foundations, and this is purely cosmetic. It's something that you might want to consider later. But later on, you might want to rip that out and you might want to put a single foundation in. If you do that, the reason we do that is because you can now sandwich 2 foundations together. The reason we do that is because if I come into the customizer, and let's say I want to build some concrete, well, here I can build some concrete, okay? Which is great. But if I change this, the whole thing's concrete. If I'm on a floor below, maybe I want to have a different ceiling. Maybe the ceiling that I want isn't going to be the same. And maybe I want to build something just slightly different. And I want this kind of coated concrete. So now you've got a different ceiling to a different floor. So the floor as you're looking down on it is going to be different to the ceiling as you're looking up. And you can't do that when you're using a foundation like this. But with that being said, if you're going to, and we've been doing this a lot already, if you're going to use conveyor lifts, this conveyor lift, if we want to put this through here, we can, but if we put it through a single, it won't. So this is why we start with a double. We start with a double because it allows you the ability to spec everything out And then this is later purely for cosmetic. So it's why I recommend using a 2. A 4 is too much unless you're trying to block things out. But I hope that makes sense. That's kind of the reasoning behind just doing the foundations the way that we're doing it. All right, let's get rid of these 3. And let's build this back. All right. So again, you've got to decide what's best. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to get rid of these ones because that's a little bit more finicky and a bit more work. There's a lot of ways that you can play with this. And this is kind of the purpose of the game, right? But hey, what we're going to do right now is we're going to delete everything else. So this is kind of how we wanted to build it, is like this. And then we're going to build the... We're not going to put the roof on, because remember, we're not, because the roof will come from the next level. We'll be able to put that on top. And so that's the other thing you've got to consider as well. If we're going to put the roof down, the roof would have to slot in, right? But we could technically, because of the way this is here, like this, you see how that is there like that? So if we were to put this place, let's say we were to put the next floor on top, this would slot in, and so it matches up perfectly. Okay, let me explain that to you one more time. So rather than putting a roof, when we build the next floor up, we'll use the foundation as the roof. The foundation is 2. But if you look here, it links up perfectly. So when we put the next foundation down, we actually need to drop it in to this area. So we need to drop it in, not place it directly on top. We need to drop it into the area so everything would line up perfectly. And you can check that before. So we're going to leave that off for now. And we're also going to remove all of this. And you might think, well, why are we doing this? Well, let me explain. What we've now built here is this starting point, right? So if you imagine this is our main walkway here. And then on the left, we're going to have this, which is kind of lined up to how we might want it to be. We'll just connect this up. We're going to use a Mark 1 for now. You build up whatever you need. Now, we've actually built that the wrong way, so we're going to have to take this one out. We're going to have to put another one in, but remember that when we do this, we need to press R to reverse it. Okay, and then we can line it up to where we need it to be. Make sure it's perfectly lined up. Press left click, go up so it's high enough. Drop it off. And now we'll be able to link this up. Again, a Mark 1 belt. That one's already linked up, so that's perfect. That one's already linked up, so that's perfect. So again, we don't need to worry about anything else that we're building here. If we wanted to put another one of these on top, we would need to flip it around the other way. Because the problem we now have with this, if we wanted to put another one down, is we can't. Here we go. So let's have a look at this. So, okay, if we look at what's going on here, we can also see this is the front. So this is the way out. The way out. Whereas this is the way in. All right, so this isn't going to link up. And the reason it's not going to link up is because you've got an in and an in. So as a result, what you'll need to do is actually flip the other one on top around this way. Now when you put this on, this is going to link up perfectly. And you can see it's actually connected now. That way we've just created a double storage. Now if we're going to do a double storage, we're going to have to go up an extra floor. And this is something you're going to want to consider. This is all important information, okay? So we've got enough headroom here. We do want to consider this, but that can go up through. So we're not worried about this one. The reason we're leaving this here, I'm going to just re-add it just quickly. Let me just get rid of that. Again, we want to make sure we are in the right place. And also we want to make sure we're using the right one. It makes a lot of sense to do this and to get it right because there's a lot of messing about here that once done, you're not going to have to mess about again. So what we really want to do here is make sure that we've got clearance over this, but that we're inside the foundations and the floor. Okay, so that if we wanted to build out, we could do so. Now we're obviously not going to do that, but if we wanted to, we could. And in fact, just to show you as a test, so we know that that's the way out there, which means this is going to be the way in. So that would be on top like so. We'll just jump up. And again, I'm just showing you this so you can see it. This isn't how it's going to be. I'm just giving an example. Out of there, straight into there. So look, you can see we've got clearance. So this now, by looking at this the way we are, you can start to see, okay, this all works. Everything's clear. Except for this one, which again, we put, well, it's because we connected that one. If we hadn't have done that, we would have been able to do that instead. Which is not going to let us do now. So we'll just, we'll put this down for the last time now. So again, that's going to go to there. We've got that exactly where we need it to be. We're going to press R to reverse it. H to lock it in place. Make sure it's where it needs to be. Move it across. Link it up. Bring it so it's the right height. And then we're going to leave that there. And then link this up. This will all make sense in a minute. Wait, what? Oh, no. I need to reverse it again. My bad. Okay. Oh, no, because I'm using the same one. If I copy it, it's already in the right orientation, so I don't need to do that. Okay. All right, that's in the right place. Make sure I'm in the right place here. Okay. That looks good to me. Okay, that will now work. Perfect. So that's connected, that's connected. That will go over the top if we need it to. That we don't need on there. Also, we don't need that on there. So if we remember what we're building here, we want to go out of the bottom one into the top one, right, for extra storage. So we actually want to come out of here into there. So we want that on that side, not on here. So this is just going to be if we need to move it out. And then this one, if we need to move it out, this will be moving it out of here. So we can move it out of the bottom one, or we can just move it out of the top one. We don't need to move it out of both. We could just move it out of here like so. Now, these can be unconnected. So if we want to have two different ones, we can. We're basically just giving ourselves options at this point of things that we could do later if we wanted to. You can have single, you can have double. Doesn't really matter. I'm just showing you that there's options here. So if we wanted to do this, this is how it would look. And this gives us enough room to maneuver. It's just that box. So we've got this to where we need it now. We're happy. We understand it. It's all okay. It all makes sense. What we're going to do is we're going to save this. Right, so we need to give it a different name. So this is going to be, I'm going to call it Cargo X1. We're going to set a directory. This is not a foundation anymore, so we're going to edit this because we're going to build a new category. All right, and this new category, we're going to rename it. So just click on this little cog here, and it's going to be... Oh, actually, do you know what? It can be a foundation. It's fine. We'll just add a new subcategory. We'll call it sections. Doesn't really matter what you call it. We're going to add the blueprint here. We'll come out. We'll apply the changes. We're going to come out of this. It's cargo box X1. We'll select an icon because it's not that. So we'll call this container. Here we go. Save the blueprint. Okay, that's now saved. Now what we're going to do is we're going to keep this, but we're going to go into our blueprints. We're going to bring up the cargo box, and guess what? We can rotate this round. We can lock it to the other one. So we can get it all perfectly lined up, and we can just drop it down, and we can do the same thing again. We'll just move out the way. Do the same again. And for the last one. So rather than sitting around messing about building this, we've now just made this. And now we've got this. We can resave this as a new blueprint. So now we go back to this and we do it cargo box X4. Okay, give it a directory because you have to do directory at a time. So foundations, cargo box, add it here. Cargo box X1, cargo box X4. Remember to save the blueprint. You must do this. All right, now let's come out here. Let's come back. Let's come into our new little house. Now, remember what we were building. Remember what we were doing. We go to our blueprints now. We've got our cargo box. We've got our X4. Look at this. See, we can build this now. We can add it onto the side. So what we want to do here, we don't actually have enough pieces. We actually need a little bit more to be able to build this. Let me just go and get these pieces because I kind of want to show you this working. In fact, if I clear this, dun dun dun. So, clear design. Aha! And then just make sure that I've got my parts that I need. There we go. We'll take all of that. And then I come to blueprints, cargo box 4. All right, so now we've got to think about where this is going to work and how it's going to go. So first thing we need to know is that it's going to be that way. If we spin around this way, it's in the right place. We need to make sure that, because remember before we had to put the floor down? So we're coming up through this top door. And then we need to put this down. So we need to make sure that it is in the right place, that it's locked into the right place. Like, where is that floor going to be, remember? And that's the important thing to consider, is that floor always locks down in, remember? So we're going to press H to lock that in. See, it always locks underneath so we can walk straight out onto it. And we actually need to move this over because it has to go into this foundation. You can kind of see the lines of when the foundations are. And we can actually see that through that middle box that we put there. So that's going to go right there like that. And you might think that doesn't feel right. But again, it's going to be a bit of an extension. So here we go. We can see that as we'll walk into this room, because what we're going to do is we're going to put this down here like this. Now we're going to need some steel plates. And I think that's because we're using, yeah. So I'm actually just going to take out one of these for now, just to give myself enough. That if I now went to the blueprint designer, I've now got enough to put another one down. So let's do the same on the other side. So now I'm going to come this way. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to get the height right first, because the height's the most important, because you can't edit the height at the moment. Now look, the wall's here, so it's not right. So we have to make sure when we're doing this, we get the right orientation. I have to flip it so it's the right way around. Get it so it's the right level. And then once it's done, you can move it over. So that's where we want it to go. Press the button, drop it off. And then all we can do is just build out this foundation in the middle here, and it's done. Now if we go up, rather than messing about and doing everything in that way, if we come up here now, we've just built our loot room. We've just built this incredible loot room, huge loot room, which, by the way, we can scale indefinitely. We just add more sections, add more blueprints, and we can just keep going. So if we're talking about building this kind of mega base now, and we're talking about having this centralized loot room because of the mistakes we made in the first part, remember where we did the L shape and it didn't quite work when we look at the conveyor room? Well, now we can build a big loot room with a lot more space that we can get everything we need from. And that just shows you how easy you can build a room like this. And so I like to do these little 3x3s. I've obviously got the center bit that's connecting it all together here, but you can kind of see how it's all working. Now we could have had just an extra foundation in here if we wanted to. So this could have been a, we could have done this 3x3, done a 3x3 in the middle here, so we could have an extra 2 there, but I kind of feel like that would make it a bit bigger, but it would then give us that block of 3. So if you kind of just want to work in these 9 grids, you can do that as well. I kind of feel like the 9 grids work really well. So you might want to consider when you're putting them together. Another way to do this, by the way, would be, because if we can kind of get rid of all of this now, we're just going to get rid of everything. So, by the way, really easy to get rid of everything if you need to. Just do this. We're holding down control while we do it. And pretty much everything that we can see is going to go. Making sure we don't get rid of the rail line behind it. All right. So back to where it was. So another way that you can do this, if you wanted to, and again, there's no right or wrong here, but this is why we have this foundation here. So we can actually put it down. Again, making sure you're in the right place. And you know you're in the right place because you can see here, before it's even down, we want that so that we can walk on it. The idea is to be able to come out the door and walk straight on it. So we could do this instead. And then if we want to, with the blueprints, there's nothing on slot 8 at the moment. In fact, if I hold down left Alt and move into wheel 2 here, I can go into my blueprints and I can set this as a 1, set this as a number 2, a 3 and a 4, or just a 3. So now I can just come and press these blueprints and I can easily put them down. Line that one up so it's there. Now I want to come put this one on the side. It's much easier to be able to do this. I can see it's all lined up. Remember, I need to get it so it's in the right place. Like so. I'm just going to have to remove that because the only reason I'm removing that is because I don't have enough. I don't actually have enough, but yeah. Now I can just get this down, spin it around. And this one is just even easier and quicker to go up. So, but it's a lot bigger now. But if you're always working in these 3x3 grids and everything is built out modular in a 3x3 grid, then I kind of feel like, and this is huge, by the way. You've got this huge space. I feel like this is a bit too big. But it's up to you. You do what you want to do. I mean, maybe it's better for the logistics floor and other stuff. And, you know, you could argue it. The other thing you could do, if you wanted to, is have a little bit of overlap. So a final option I'm going to give you here on this is the ability to, we're just going to remove everything real quick. Kind of get rid of all of this. We'll do one more. And again, I'm just giving you some ideas here. After this, you're on your own. I kind of feel like we've done everything we need to do. I've covered everything we need to cover. We've had some fun. We've had some lessons. Hopefully you've learned some stuff, but at the same time, you've enjoyed the content. All right, so what I'm going to do now instead is I'm actually going to put down this foundation I talked about. So again, it's very easy for me to build out once I've got this base foundation down. So I like to put this down as a starting point, but I want to do a 3 and a 3, right? But I don't want to go like too far out. So what I might do instead, because I want to have a 3 and a 3, is I can use this. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that if I was to put down this one now, you see how it's going to be like this? Now, I don't want to put it there because obviously that's going to be in front of everything, but I don't want to go out because it's too far. So you have to kind of decide if I want to make it even smaller. Well, I can do that, but I would need to put it in something like this. So I can come over 2. So let me just remove 2 here. And then I can put this down, this foundation down this way here. Again, trying to make sure it all lines up. Press H if you need to. And then you can nudge. Nudge tool is really good to be able to use this. So, remember, we did 4 here, not 3. So this room might be just a little bit bigger. And then what I can do is I can remove this. And I can just mirror this. Now we're going to have a little bit less room. Oh, remember, I've got to get rid of 1 because I haven't got enough parts on me. Alright, so... Oh, I actually did that wrong. My bad. That was my bad. Did that bit wrong. Let me just show you what I was trying to say. Sorry. The idea behind this is I can actually make it even smaller. So if you put a piece down, the point I'm trying to make here is if you put a blueprint on top of a blueprint, you'll overlap. And you'll actually have 2 walls, which we don't want. So instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to remove this foundation. Sorry, that's what I meant to do. So I've actually broken into one of the blueprints. But the reason I'm doing that is because now I'm actually going to press H. And I need to nudge this over one place so it's in the right. There we go. Now this is a lot more compact, a lot more confined, but you can see how we can kind of tweak and edit these blueprints to make this space. So you can have like a really wide one, you can have a really small one. Kind of depends on what you want. But you just need to bear in mind that this has got a little bit of overhang. Now this has only got a 1 overhang now. So we've got the 3 in the middle with 1 either side. So you can turn that 3 into a 5 if you wanted to. It really is up to you. It really is up to you. You can also do like a 3 and a 3 with a center. Like it, whatever you want. 4 and a 4. Up to you. Up to you. But you can build, you can get creative. And you can start to make these building blocks. And that's the whole point here, is that you can just create these modular systems, and then most of it's connected. You've just got to go and finish the connection off now. So this is the whole idea of having the blueprint planner and using it like this. You will have to go in and fill in some gaps, but honestly, this is like, compared to what else we've just been doing, this is nothing. And it makes life just so much easier. And already, look how quickly this base is starting to form. Now, we haven't really done anything crazy at the moment. But we've already built this like huge, magnificent tower. And all we did is built a couple of sections. So just being able to do this, and you can start to get creative now. And if you're not creative, that's okay. You can simply go on to the third-party websites that are out there, and you can download blueprints. Lots of creators, lots of content creators, and also just people in the space have built the most optimized blueprints that you can imagine that you can just download and plug straight into your game. There's a little bit of messing about with saving them in the right directory, but once that's done, you're good to go. And then you can just kind of build these out. So when we build our base, here's the beauty now as well. Here's the beauty of this. It tells you, if you go to the blueprint designer and we go, hold on a minute, I want to load a blueprint. Right, well, I know that I'm going to want cargo box times 4. Okay, so cargo box times 4, go to my blueprint. I'm going to add, let's say we're going to have 4 of these plus an entrance hall. We now know exactly what we need in terms of material. Yeah, we need 500 concrete, 500 iron plates, 600 steel pipes, and 640 steel beams. So we can prepare all of the building blocks that we need to have all of the parts that we need. So we can load up with those parts. So what we can do now is we can put those parts in the back of our rover or our truck, load it up, and that way when we go, just open the workbench at the back here, load it up, and when we get to where we're going, we have all the material to build out our base. Now we can do this for electricity, we can do this for anything. So to create these single systems, the reason I showed you this is because I think this is everything you need. The concept behind this is to have really a single system and then use that as a blueprint to duplicate into a bigger system and then save that. And then you've got this modular system. So now if we decide we're going to grow and we want to build out a bigger loot room, well, guess what? We just come to the end here and we just add more. And so we can scale out this base as big as we need it to be as we grow. You can do the same for your iron factory, your copper factory, everything. As long as you build the foundations out and you build them out in a modular way, and you might not want to do that. You might want to be different. You might want to have a quirky base that, like I did before. This one, quite quirky, you know, it's got all these little bits that you can run around. You can build into the cliff line. So if you wanted to build over there where it's quite undulating, you might want to build like a really cool like Eden project or something like that. You can do that. Build in the trees. You can do what you want. You can build a sky base. You can have perfectly industrial squares. You can kind of do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this game, is that there's no limitations. Oh, I so nearly made that. There's no limitations, so you can kind of do whatever you want. Anyway, I hope that helps. That was the whole purpose of the video today. I appreciate there was a lot of waffle here rather than playing, but this is going to set you up now to go and do what you need to do, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to rebuild everything. We're going to do it all in a way that it's all nice and clean and efficient. And maybe I'll come back in the future with another video just to kind of show you that. But I'm not going to take you through the pain and the problem of me building it all. We'll save that now for the next Let's Play series. So in version 1.0, I'll do a beginner's guide for 1.0, which will just be a beginner's guide. We'll just cover the basics. And then we'll do a Let's Play series, and we'll build something out, and we'll build something fun with everything that we've learned. And we'll just, you know, with all the other content creators that are going to be doing exactly the same thing, I'll just give you my version of it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And don't forget to check out some of the other people. There's some incredible content creators in this community. It's an amazing community. It's quite a mature community. I think this type of game definitely attracts a more mature player base. I definitely fallen asleep for a couple of nights watching videos, learning how to do things. And so I think it's a really great game with a really great community. You can definitely sink a lot of hours into this, and you'll have a lot of fun in the process. And I think that the most important thing here is not to skip this discovery phase, because this journey, this learning journey, is part of the fun. And if you just skip straight into a fully automated, perfect factory and you just go straight to blueprints and take everyone else's, I kind of think you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to make mistakes. And those painful mistakes, they're valuable. That's like, if you look at the people that are good at this game, they didn't start good. They started out exactly the same way as I've started out in this series. You know, they just didn't upload that content, whereas I did. Some of them have. But most people, they just go for the polished content. I like to go for the realism, and that's kind of what we've done here. So hope you found this series useful. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've kind of done most of what we wanted to do here, and, you know, this has been a good little base for us. But now we're ready to move on to greener pastures. And so, yeah, we're going to pack up everything here. We'll take it all with us. And then off we go to the new adventure. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this has been a good series and you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments if you have. Give me your feedback. I do read the comments and I do appreciate the feedback. And for those of you that are saying you've left with no resources, this is purely just an outro. It's cinematic. Well, you know, I guess as close to cinematic as you can get. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And we'll see you all in the next series. Take care. Bye-bye.